Okay, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Today, I basically just want to get into a breakdown on Revelation 18th chapter, dealing with the destruction of Babylon the Great, the fall of Babylon the Great, as it reads in the subtitle here, Babylon is fallen, which we know to be prophetic for America, and we see that destruction happening soon, right? We see the collapse that America is going through. So I just thought through the Spirit it would make sense to go into it. Now this is Revelation chapter 18 verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Now again, Babylon, being America is fallen, and is going to fall by way of thermonuclear fire when these missiles, these nukes hit, and divine fire. That's the destruction that the Lord is coming to bring upon America. And after that destruction is going to become as it reads, a habitation of devils, and a hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Those desert type of creatures, different types of reptiles, birds, scavengers type of birds like vultures, so on and so forth. Let's get the book of Jeremiah 51 verse 8. Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 8, and this is going into the same thing. Chapters like Jeremiah 51, 49, 50, different chapters in Isaiah 13, 34, 47, 19. The destruction and the fall of America is throughout the scriptures. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Again, America, howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. Right, and that's basically the Lord mocking, cry for America, give her some medicine, maybe she'll be healed. But it's mocking in a sense because it cannot be healed. As we read in verse 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Right, and there's going to be a great judgment, again, mainly by way of these nukes hitting, and the fire from the chariots of Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornications. Right, and that wine that all nations have drunk, goes into the ways of America, the policies, how America has zero morals, and they spread that wickedness throughout the earth. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornications. And also the different philosophies, the religions, just complete confusion. Which is why America is referred to as Babylon the Great. Because when you look into this name Babylon, let's look into it real quick. It means confusion. Babylon, confusion. Right, because that's all it is. It's just a place full of confusion. And as we read here, they spread that confusion throughout the earth. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. Right, they all lay in bed with America, and the merchants of the earth or wax rich through the abundance of her delicacies, right? Because you have other nations who have become rich through laying in bed with America, through making these contracts, producing things where America consumes, so on and so forth. They make money off of America, which is why in Jeremiah 51, we read that they were howling for her, crying for America once this place is destroyed. Let's get the book of Baruch, chapter 4. Let's jump down to verse 30. And it reads, "Take a good heart, O Jerusalem, the land, for he that gave thee that name will comfort thee." Right? Who? The Most High. "Miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoice at thy fall." In which, those who afflicted us and rejoice at our fall are all these other nations, but it's mainly speaking about, our number one enemy, Esau, Edom. Let's get the book of Obadiah. It's the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 12. We start at verse 11. And it reads, "In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, and the day that the strangers carried away the captive, his forces and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them," right? Speaking about how Esau aided in our destruction when the Babylonians came up against Jerusalem. They came up against the southern kingdom. Verse 12, "But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger, neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress." Right? So, as we read here, "Miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoice at thy fall," right? Because the Lord is going to recompense them for that, man. For that and more, for everything that they've done unto us. Verse 32, "Miserable are the cities with which thy children served. Miserable is she that received thy sons." Now this she that received thy sons is going into America. "For as she rejoiced at thy ruin," right? Revelation 17 refers to America as a great whore. "For as she rejoiced at thy ruin, and was glad of thy fall," again, as we just read in Obadiah 1 and 12, "so shall she be grieved for her own desolation," because America is the basically the capital or the head city, country, land of Esau today. "For as she rejoiced at thy ruin and was glad of thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation." So that's why the destruction of America would signify the destruction of Esau's kingdom. "For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning. For fire shall come upon her from the everlasting, long to endure, and she shall be inhabited of devils for a great time." Right? So basically, what we just read in Revelation 18 and 3, or 18 and 2, speaking about this fire, again, that fire being from the divine fire, from the so-called UFOs or the chariots of the angels in Yahweh Shai, and the nukes. And there's many scriptures that speak on that. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 32. This is Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 32. I'm getting straight to the point. "And the most proud shall stumble and fall." Who is the most proud? The most proud would be Esau, Edom. Really, these elites, in which you have, these other nations, they're proud as well. But the most proud would be Esau. "And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him." So again, a main fire of destruction being brought by these missiles and the angels. Jeremiah 51 and 58. Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 58. I'm going to try to go rapid fire with these scriptures because there's quite a few. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon, America, shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. Let's get Malachi chapter 4 verse 1. And it reads, For behold, the day cometh, thou shalt burn as an oven, and all the proud, right? All the proud, but the most proud being who? Esau. Yeah, all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. Right? Because for America, right, dealing with America, we know for a fact that this place is going to be completely destroyed by that fire. So everyone who's left here they're through. You know, if you're over here in America, you're not a part of the Lord's elect to be beamed up out of the destruction by the chariots, you are through. Right? In Zechariah chapter 14 verse 12, and it reads, And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. Why? Because they're taking part in that fire, that flame, that thermonuclear flame. Right? Let's get also speaks about this in 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10. And it reads, But the day of the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai will come as a thief in the night. Speaking about Yahushai, when he returns, is going to catch people off guard because they aren't watching except for his elect. In the which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Right? And the works are therein going into, you know, the people and the things, you know, in the land, but also their works, the wickedness. Because once this destruction comes, the Lord is going to establish a righteous kingdom. Now, you're still going to have these other nations that go off, but it's going to be, you know, it's not going to be as bad as before, because the laws of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai will be the law of the land. It'll be the rule of the land because we're going to enforce it. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Shalakin, so again, the elements melting with fervent heat. And there's going to be the land of America, you know, and, you know, wherever else the Lord sees fit for these missiles to hit. We know they're also going to hit the Holy Land because that place needs to be cleansed too. All the wickedness going on there is completely corrupted. You know, but for sure, we know for sure those two places are getting hit, but it's mainly dealing with America. Because this is the, like I said, the head place of Esau today. Let's continue. We can get the book of Psalms, chapter 21, verse 9. This is Psalm chapter 21, verse 9. Thou shalt make them, we start at verse 8. Thine hand shall find out all thine enemies. Thy right hand shall find out those that hate thee. Right? And who's the right hand of the Lord? Yahushai. And those that hate the Lord are the enemies, ultimately the other nations. But you also have the wicked of our people. Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord, Yahweh by Shem Yahushai, shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. So again, you know, this destruction is prophesied about throughout the scriptures. Let's continue. Look at Daniel chapter 7, In verse 11, and it reads, I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. Now this beast, when you read Daniel 7, is speaking of the Roman Empire, that fourth beast. But this did not happen to the Roman Empire, right? Because it's happening to the second coming of that fourth beast by way of America, in which that second coming of the fourth beast being America and its allies, America, NATO, the EU, but again, America being that head. So this is going to take place upon that destruction of America by thermonuclear fire, the warheads, the nukes, and the divine fire. Let's get the book of Isaiah, chapter 47, verse 14. We can just start at verse 14, straight to the point. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Right? Let's get Isaiah 34 and 9. We'll start at verse 8. It's Isaiah chapter 34, verse 8. For is the day of the Lord Yahweh's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Right? So this day is where the Lord is going to get all the anger out, man. So you best believe it's going to be a great, great and terrible day. Right? And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. Speaking about America, man, it's just going to be burnt to a crisp. The elements shall be, the elements are going to melt with fervent heat. Now let's grab one more. Isaiah chapter 65, verse 15, right? Because, again, it's not only by way of the nuclear missiles, but the lasers from Yahweh Shai and the angels as well. Isaiah chapter 65, verse 66, verse 15. For behold, the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire, Slakia, and by his sword will the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Right? So if anything, the Lord is coming to do more killing than those nukes, man. So going back to Baruch chapter 4, verse 35, for fire shall come upon her from the everlasting, long to endure, and she shall be inhabited of devils for a great time. Right? Because as we said, after that fire, after America's, completely burnt up, is going to become a dwelling place for certain animals. It's going to become like a desert place, right? Let's get Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 37. And it reads, start at verse 36. Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will plead thy cause, and take vengeance for thee, and I will dry up her sea, and make her springs dry. And Babylon, America, shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, and astonishment and hissing without an inhabitant. Right? Because again, the only things that are going to inhabit America after the Lord's through with it are these creatures. No one, no human being, no people will live on this plot of land ever again. It's going to become like a memento or a memorial of what happens when, you basically disrespect, you disobey the Heavenly Father. The punishment for wickedness. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 39, and it reads, therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the islands shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. As the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord Yahweh. Right? How did that happen? What rained down? Fire and brimstone, right? Saith the Lord Yahweh, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Exactly. Let's get more. Let's get so Isaiah chapter 13, verse 19. So Isaiah chapter 13, verse 19. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, again America, the glory of kingdoms, right? America is hailed as the number one, country on the earth in terms of, power, in terms of influence, in terms of money. But those were the things promised to Esau. So Isaiah chapter 13, verse 19, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, but wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures. And owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there, and the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. Right? And we see that time is near to come. And it says that her days shall not be prolonged, because when it is time, it is time. It's not going to happen before it's supposed to happen, and it's not going to be prolonged. It's not going to happen after it was supposed to happen. No, when that time is there, best believe the Lord is going to destroy this place, because he's itching to destroy this place. Let's get Isaiah chapter 34, verse 11. And it reads, But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it, the owl also and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. They shall call the nobles thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. And the thorn shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof, and it shall be an habitation of dragons and a court for owls. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there, and find for herself a place of rest. There shall the great owl make her nest, and lay and hatch and gather under her shadow. There shall the vultures also be gathered, every one with her mate. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord Yahweh, and read, no one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate, for my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them. And he hath cast a lot for them, and his hand hath divided it unto them by line. They shall possess it forever, from generation to generation shall they dwell therein. So this speaking about, again, America after the destruction. It's going to become a place full of, these creatures. It's going to be their dwelling place, as we just read. It's basically a promise that the Lord gave to them. So going back to the book of Revelation, as we read here, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, America, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Verse 4, And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Now, what this is speaking of is the Lord's elect being beamed up out of America before the destruction takes place. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people. That's them being beamed up by the chariots, or the so-called UFOs, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Right? The judgment that the Lord is going to bring upon America by way of mainly what? These nukes, the fire. You know, if you're caught up in that, then you're going to be caught up in the elements melting. So the Lord's elect have to be beamed up, you know, out of that destruction. That is what this is mainly speaking of. And let's get Isaiah chapter 26, verse 20. Here is speaking about the same thing. And it reads, Isaiah chapter 26, verse 20. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Right? That's them entering into the chariots. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpassed. What's that indignation? The righteous anger and judgment of the Lord upon Esau, upon America. For behold, the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. Let's also get the book of Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 45. Yes, Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 45, and it reads, my people, go ye out of the midst of her, who, Babylon, America, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord. Right? And how are they going to do that? Right? It's not that they can deliver themselves, because if that's the case, then what would be the point of Yahweh Shai, right? If everyone could just deliver themselves, but Yahweh Shai, the angels, they're going to deliver the Lord's elect again out of America before the destruction happens. You know, and that's why we serve the Lord, to be a part of that remnant that gets delivered. So going back to Revelation 18 and 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Now again, what this is mainly speaking of is the elect being beamed up, right? But you can also apply this spiritually, right? We come out of her, we come out of the ways of America, you know, the ways of confusion. We come out of that sleep we were in and wake up to the truth. You know, we turn back to the Lord and we walk in the ways of righteousness, you know, because before the deliverance physically happens, it happens spiritually, you know, and then we serve the Lord to the best of our abilities, that grants us that worthiness, or purifies us in the eyes of the Lord, to then be delivered, you know, physically. It garners us that salvation. You know, it speaks about that in Ezekiel the 37th chapter, how we will be raised up from the dead, the spiritually dead, which we're going to get into that as well. But let's go to Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17, dealing more on the destruction of America. It's Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17, and it reads, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Now, the Medes here represent the Russians. You know, it's no coincidence how Russia is the #1 enemy of America today. That's all prophecy. You know, and they're going to be the leading nation in aiding in the destruction of America by way of nukes. It says that which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it, right? Because they're not going to be trying to hear nothing. They're not going to be trying to make no contracts, no agreements, you know, no nothing with America, man. That's all the Spirit of the Lord stirring it up. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 51. Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 11. We start at verse 10. Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 10. The Lord Yahweh by Shema Shai hath brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord Yahweh by Shema Shai our God. Make bright the arrows, right? The arrows going into the missiles. Gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh by Shema Shai hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, the Russians, for his device is against Babylon, America, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai, the vengeance of his temple. So again, the Lord is going to put the spirit on Russia, right, and these other nations to destroy America, right, even America's allies. Let's jump down to the 28th verse, I believe. Right. And it reads, Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 28, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes. Again, the other nations, as well as the Russians, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord Yahweh shall be performed against Babylon, America, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant. So again, the Lord stirring up the spirit of these other nations to destroy America, man. Verse 18, their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. Right, again, those bows, the arrows, the bows, going into the missiles. In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, America, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Salakia. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 14. Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 14. We can start at verse 13. For I have sworn by myself, said the Lord Yahweh, that Basra, America's representation of America, shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. Right? This never happened back then in Basra, in the land of Edom, because it's happening to America. Perpetual waste. I mean, no one is going to dwell there, after the Lord is through. Verse 14, I have heard a rumor from the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai. An ambassador is sent unto the heathen. Right? So an ambassador is sent unto these other heathen nations, which is going to be the spirit that the Lord puts on them to want to destroy this place. Is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her, who, that great whore, America, and rise up to the battle. Right, and that battle being World War III, in which is going to end with the nukes being shot off, right? And really, Yahweh Shai is going to be the one to put an end to World War III, because in the midst of World War III, that's when he's going to appear, and all the nations, the armies of these nations are going to try and fight against him, right? We read that in 2nd Ezra 13, Revelation 12, 7 through 9, Revelation 19, verse 11, verse 19. Yeah. Oh, also Revelation 17 and 14. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 9. And it reads, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence shall she be taken. Their arrows, the missiles, shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Right? Because when these missiles are launched, because at the end of the day, these missiles, they're really the weapons of the Lord. And the words of the Lord will return in vain. And you say these missiles are going to hit America, these nukes are going to come fuck up America, that's what they finna go do. It should be down to the 14th verse. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against the Lord Yahweh. Right? So you see how it's putting that emphasis on these nations gathering to shoot their missiles at America, man, because the Lord's not playing, and it's going to be a great destruction, right? The time of destruction and deliverance from America is going to make, what happened in Egypt look like child's play. Shoot at her, spare no arrows, no missiles, for she had sinned against the Lord Yahweh. Let's jump down to the 29th verse. Call together the archers against Babylon, against America, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about, let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she hath done, do unto her, for she hath been proud. Again, Esau being the most proud. She hath been proud against the Lord Yahweh, against the Holy One of Israel. Right. So, again, this day is the day of the Lord, letting all the anger out, man. All the anger that has been building up from all the wickedness on this earth, from these people, and from all the wicked people throughout time. This is the day for him to show his power on, the most grandest scale, to where everyone will acknowledge it. You're going to have no choice but to acknowledge it. Let's go back to the book of Isaiah chapter 13. In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. Right? Again, is being the place of no inhabitants after the destruction. A few more verses on that is Shemaiah chapter 50 verse 13. Because of the wrath of the Lord Yahweh Shai, it shall not be inhabited, again speaking about America, but it shall be wholly desolate. Everyone that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. Now this did not happen to the ancient Babylonian Empire, because it's happening to the prophetic Babylonian Empire, America. Shemaiah chapter 50 verse 39. Therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the island shall dwell there, and the owls shall dwell therein, and it shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 29. And the land shall tremble in sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord Yahweh shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant. So this lets you know that this is prophecy that has yet to be fulfilled. Or we can jump down also to Slakia, verse 37. And Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, and astonishment and an hissing without an inhabitant. Let's also get Isaiah chapter 34 verse 10. Start at verse 9 once more. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch, due to the destruction, the missiles, and the divine fire. It shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever, right? Because the smoke from the flame, from the fire, is going to burn and go up into the sky for a very long period of time. From generation to generation, it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. Why? Because there's not going to be any people, on this plot of land anymore. So that was verse 20, right? Once more, it shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there, and the wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces, and her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. Right? So again, the different creatures dwelling there. We went through, a couple of scriptures on that. And I'll just get the book of Isaiah chapter 34. We start at verse 1. The Most High's wrath against nations. It's Isaiah chapter 34 verse 1. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. Right? So all, the whole world, come hear this message, right? For the indignation of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai, is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. Right? And how is he going to utterly destroy them? How is he delivering them to the slaughter? By having World War III take place. Their armies are going to gather over there in the Holy Land, over there in Jerusalem, over there in the Fertile Crescent, the Levant. And as we said, you can read about this in 2nd Ezra 13. The Lord is going to appear and destroy them niggas, man. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heaven shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. Now it says, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved. And what this is going into is really the people, right? Those, you have the elites, those in high positions in this world, mainly speaking about Esau. The host of heaven, those who have authority in this world, those who have a face in this world, the higher ups, this is their heaven, their glory, their kingdom. They're going to be dissolved. By what? And the heaven shall be rolled together as a scroll. What is that being rolled together as a scroll? That is what Isaiah is seeing is a nuclear mushroom cloud, or mushroom clouds, from the missiles that are going to cause that dissolving, as we read in 2 Peter, the elements being melted and being dissolved with the fervent heat. And the heaven shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down. Again, those in high positions, right? And really, it's signifying the power, Esau falling out of power, as well as the fall of their kingdom, which is going to be brought by the destruction of America. As a leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree, right? And in the book of Revelation, it basically goes into this exact same thing. The Apostle John basically seen the same exact vision as Isaiah. This is Revelation chapter 6, verse 13. And it reads, we start at verse 12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Right? What was that earthquake? That was the destruction. That earthquake was brought by the destruction, by these nukes, by the angels, by Yahweh Shai. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth. Again, those stars representing those in these high positions. Even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Right? So you have this mighty wind playing along with the example they gave. You have this mighty wind, i.e. the destruction, that's shaking this fig tree, i.e. the earth or America or the land, right? Which is causing the figs to fall. Those in high places, mainly dealing with Esau, the elites, their power system, their structure, their kingdom falling. Because again, you know, those nukes falling down and hitting America basically, you know, spell the end of their kingdom, the end of their power, you know, the end of heathen rulership, you know. And it's funny to me how the Lord used the word untimely, right? Because when you look into this word untimely figs, an unripe fig which grows during the winter yet does not come to maturity falls off in the spring, right? So basically going into unripe. And the Lord is going to, you know, cast down these devils, cast down their power, bring down their kingdom, you know, before it's perfected, so to speak. Because before they are able to, you know, completely enact their plans, that's when the Lord is finna come cut it short, right? So it's going to be unripe. You know, we read that in Job chapter 5, verse 12. He disappointeth. We start at verse 11. We can start at verse 8. It's Job chapter 5, verse 8. I would seek unto the Most High would I commit my cause, which doeth great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number, which giveth rain upon the earth, and sendeth waters upon the fields, to set up on high those that be low, right? And how is the Lord going to do this? In the end, the destruction of America. Those who are low, being us, Israel, we are going to be set high. And those who are high, right, the stars of heaven, the host, they are going to fall. They are going to be the ones put in the low position. Who giveth rain upon the earth, to set up on high those that be low, that those which mourn may be exalted to safety. Mainly going into the elect of Israel. He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise, right? So the Lord is going to, you know, cut their plans short. You know, so it's really spiritual how he used untimely figs as in unripe. And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a fig from the fig tree. Oh, Slakia 6 and 13. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind, right? And again, you know, it speaks about the earth being shaken from the destruction, right? So Isaiah chapter 13, verse 13, and it reads, therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place, in the wrath of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. All right, let's also get Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 19. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. Right? And you can imagine someone's drunk. They trying to walk straight and they can't. And then they're leaning over, about to fall and shit. It shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. Right? That's transgression by the wicked, because they're going to fall. Their wicked kingdom is going to fall, and it's not going to rise again. The Lord is coming to establish a righteous kingdom, the kingdom of heaven. You know, his kingdom ruled by Yahweh Shai and Israel. Let's also get Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 21. This is Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 20. And it reads, therefore hear the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Shai, that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. right? Going into the least of the flock, the small hats, drawing out America, basically pushing them into, world war. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them, right? Because as we said, the Holy Land and America are two places that 100% are getting smacked with nukes. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall. At the cry, the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. So, this is going to be a very great destruction. Let's also get Isaiah chapter 47 verse 1. And it reads, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground. There is no throne." Why? Because again, mainly speaking about the elites of Esau, but all of those in power, all of those who are lofty, right? The pride, those who are proud, in this world, in their heaven, in their glory, in their kingdom, it's all being brought down, right? They're going to sit on the ground. There is no more throne. The high are going to be brought low. O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Let's go back. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. Again, the mushroom clouds. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Why? Because, the devastating impact, the destruction, the missiles. Now I want to also get basically a visual on, why Isaiah, why John likened the Apostle John the Revelator, why they likened, these mushroom clouds unto a scroll being rolled together, right? Let's look at this one. Okay, this one quick as hell. Slow it down a little piece. There we go. So look at this, right? You see how the smoke is basically folding in on itself. And then not to mention this piece, this bottom piece, right? That literally looks like, a scroll when it's rolled together, right? Like this bottom piece right here. Can't really, let's see. Yeah, just like this, that's quite literally what it looked like. Let's go back to it. See? So, they basically use words that the best that they can to describe what they saw, because the terminology of a mushroom cloud, they didn't have those terms back then. So they basically just described it as best they can, right? And it shows you the intelligence of the Lord, how, he made them use words that were able to be understood thousands of years in advance, in the future. Slakia. So going back to Isaiah 34 and 4, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. What this is basically just going into, to summarize it, is when these missiles hit, right, that will be the fall of Esau's kingdom. They're the fall of the heathen being in power. Verse 5, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, Edom, Esau, Edom, and upon the people of my curse to judgment, again Esau. And when it reads here, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven, again, what is it speaking about is those missiles. Because like we stated before, these missiles are actually, the weapons of the Lord. He gave these devils the intelligence to create these things so he can then use it against them. Use it to destroy them. That's why here, Jeremiah 50 verse 25, it reads, the Lord Yahweh hath opened his armory, and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord Yahweh of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. Again, it's speaking about what? Those arrows, the missiles. These are the Lord's weapons, man. Let's also get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 40. And it reads, for I will lift up my hand to heaven and say, I live forever. If I whet my glittering sword, right? What did we just read? The sword, Isaiah 34 and 5. If I whet my glittering sword, which the word wet here means to sharpen, and mine hand take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to mine enemies and will reward them that hate me. Salakia, which is mainly who? Esau, Edom. I will make mine arrows drunk with blood, arrows, the missiles, and my sword shall devour flesh, and that with the blood of the slain and of the captives from the beginning of revenges upon the enemy. Rejoice, O ye nations, with his people, for he will revenge the blood of his servants, and will render vengeance to his adversaries, and will be merciful unto his land and to his people. Right? Shows you who the Lord is coming to save, right? Who deliverance is even for. The Lord is going to be merciful unto his land and to his people. Not no heathens. But again, right, that destruction, though, that sword, let's go back to it. Here, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. That's the missiles, right? Being bathed in heaven, falling through the sky. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, Esau, Edom, in which we know is hidden who? The Holy Land, and is mainly America. And upon the people of my curse to judgment, Esau. The sword of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord Yahweh hath sacrificed, and hath a sacrifice in Basra, representing America, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. And the unicorn shall come down with them, and the bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. Now the reason is saying, the unicorns and the goats and the bullocks and the bulls, because what did we just read here? For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra. When you have a sacrifice, you have the animals, that you have the slave for the blood, and it's likening these animals unto the people, unto Esau, unto the wicked, right? Though the people that are going to be over here in America, they're going to be slain. That's the sacrifice. They are the sacrificial, animals for the sacrifice in Basra in America. Verse 8, for it is the day of the Lord Yahweh's vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. It shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever from generation to generation. It shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. So again, the fire and the burning, the smoke from that destruction is going to go up for a long, very long period of time. Let's get the book of Revelation, chapter 19. I believe it's verse 3. We can start at verse 1. And the subtitle reads, the fourth fold, hallelujah, hallelujah. And after these things, verse 1, and after these things I heard a great voice of much people in heaven, saying, Hallelujah, salvation and glory and honor and power unto the Lord our God. Right? And that's going into the the remnant, the elect, up there in the sky in the chariots, giving glory to the Lord. For true and righteous are his judgments, for he hath judged the great whore, America, read that in Revelation 17, which did corrupt the earth with her fornications, right? Making the world drunk with her wine, her ways, her philosophy, her ideologies, her immorality, and hath avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. And again they said, Alleluia, and her smoke rose up forever and ever. That smoke from the destruction. Let's also get Revelation 18 and 18. Start at verse 17. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning. Slakia. And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Again, the smoke of America. Let's grab one more to get the book of Revelation chapter 14, Slakia, verse 11. And we can start here at the 9th verse, right? Because this lets us know another important key or part of prophecy that needs to take place before the destruction of America comes. This reads, doom for the worshippers of the beast. This is Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. And a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, right, the beast, America, NATO, the EU, the revival of the Roman Empire, revival of the fourth beast, and his image, the ancient Roman system, come back by way of their technology, complete authority, complete control, complete surveillance, so on and so forth, through their technology, through their AI, through their mark. It's a beast system. And receive his mark in his forehead, the MOTB, which is going to be that RFID micro chip, or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, America, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb, right? That fire and brimstone, again, going into destruction of America, because it's also referred to as fire and brimstone, also referred to as the lake of fire within the scriptures, right? If we could get that, Revelation 17, 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her with flesh, and burn her with fire. Right, that's going into the allies of America also aiding in her destruction by thermonuclear fire. This is Revelation 19 to 20. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet. The beast, again, America, NATO, the EU, and with him the false prophet, mainly the Roman Catholic Church, that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These were both cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. And again, that lake of fire is going to be America on fire, right? To put it simply. So Revelation 20 and 10. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Right, let's jump down. Verse 14, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Right, because that fire, this is the second death. The first one, what did the Lord do? He flooded the earth by water. That was the first death, but this one is by fire. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. And what that's basically going into is how Israel will be immortal. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire, meaning everyone other than the Lord's elect. If you aren't of the remnant of Israel, the elect of the nation of Israel, and you're over here in America, at least, you will take part in those missiles, the flame from those missiles. You will take part in the elements melting with fervent heat. Now, where were we? Where were we? Was Isaiah 34? Where were we? I just completely lost my train of thought. Slovakia. Right, Revelation 14. Revelation 14 and 11. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever. Again, the smoke from the flames of America going up for a long period of time. And they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Right, so those who receive the mark are going to take part, or are going to be here, when those missiles hit. They're going to take part in that fire, that second death, that lake of fire, which lets us know that the MOTB, the mandatory implementation of the MOTB, comes before the destruction of America. Because those who, take the MOTB have to be caught in that destruction, right? So now we can go back to Isaiah 34. That was verse 10, right? So verse 11, in which we read this, but we can go over it once more. But the cormorant and the bittern shall possess it, the owl also, and the raven shall dwell in it, and he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. They shall call the noblest thereof to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all her princes shall be nothing. And thorns shall come up in her palaces, nettles and brambles in the fortresses thereof, and it shall be an habitation of dragons, and a court for owls. The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there, and find for herself a place of rest. There shall the great owl make her nest, and lay, and hatch, and gather under her shadow. There shall the vultures also be gathered, everyone with her mate. Again, the creatures that are going to dwell in America, dwell in this land, that plot of land, after the destruction. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord Yahweh, and read. No one of these shall fail. None shall want her mate, for my mouth it hath commanded, and the spirit it hath gathered them. And he hath cast a lot for them, and his hand hath divided it unto them by line. They shall possess it forever, from generation to generation shall they dwell therein. Right, so now you can go back to Revelation chapter 18. This is verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Again, what this is mainly speaking about is the elect being delivered in the chariots, but also, right, spiritually, before that happens, us waking up, no more being asleep, receiving the Holy Spirit, receiving the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And let's read that. It's the book of Isaiah, Revelation chapter 11. We start at the 7th verse, and it reads, And when they shall have finished their testimony, right, this is going into the captivity of the southern kingdom, the slavery and whatnot, in which is mainly speaking about the captivity of the southern kingdom, but you also had the captivity of the northern kingdom. They went through their captivity as well, but it wasn't until you had the southern kingdom over here in America that we were all over here on this side of the earth, this side of the world. So, and when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit, which is America, we read that in Revelation 17 verses, I believe, 8 to 11. The beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them, right? And what this is going into is the time of Jacob's trouble. It's where Esau is going to have that final stand, for lack of words, that of coming up against the Lord's people. And you're going to have the reason that the Lord, well, you have that grace period between the two, right? The grace period between the time of captivity versus, us being given quote unquote freedom to the time of Jacob's trouble. And you have that period for, well, I'll say two reasons, or I'm going to hit at two reasons. But number one is, it wouldn't really make sense for us to just come out of slavery, right, and then go into the time of Jacob's trouble, which is going to be a time of, persecution upon the Lord's people like none ever before. It's going to beat the times of slavery, but it doesn't really make sense for us to just get out of that, then go into that, because, when you think about it, it's like, let's say it just wouldn't hit as much. Right? Let's say someone has a penny and then they lose that penny. It's just, okay, I lost a penny. Versus someone has $500,000 and they lose all $500,000. It hits more, right? During the times of slavery, we were already at a low position, versus now, right? We're still at a low position. But, Jake, you have Jake millionaires, Jake billionaires. Jake could sit on the game and play the PS5 all day or whatever. We have quote unquote freedoms now, quote unquote, right? So it'll hit more for all of that to be taken away. And then go into a time of persecution, insurrection like none ever before. It'll just hit worse, right? But also, that period in between was for a grace period, right? The time for the remnant of Israel to wake up, to awake from the sleep that they were in, right? To turn back to their God, to turn back to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and obtain the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding by way of the Holy Spirit of the Lord, because the Lord had to seal the vessels that he made for him to show his mercy. Because when the time of Jacob trouble comes, you're going to have those who the Lord delivers through it, performs miracles, and so on and so forth for during those times. But they had to be, woken up. So that's why the Lord gave that grace period between the two. So it says, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them, right? In which is going to have a lot of Jake slain in this time. But as we read, the Lord is going to have a remnant that he shows mercy upon and delivers through these times, man. Let's get the book of Daniel chapter 7, verse 21. This is Daniel chapter 7, verse 21. I beheld, and the same horn, again, America, made war with the saints, the Israelites, and prevailed against them, again, that time of trouble, until the Ancient of Days came, the Most High, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom, right? So these devils, they're going to do what they do, but the Lord is going to protect his remnant, protect his elect during those times. And after those times, when Esau is taken down, their kingdom is destroyed, he's going to set up the kingdom of Israel, his kingdom. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom, right? And then that time is going to last forever, in eternity. This is Revelation chapter 11, verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. Their dead bodies going into the dead bodies of Israel, but not literally dead, spiritually dead, right? Again, we were lost, didn't know who we were, didn't know who our God was, no understanding, no proper understanding of anything. It speaks about that in Ezekiel the 37th chapter, verses 1 through 14, right? The dead bodies. The dead bodies, right? Meaning we lacked the spirit of truth. We lacked the breath of life. We lacked the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Now let's get it's Proverbs chapter 21, verse 16. And it reads, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. And that's exactly what happened to Israel. You know, it got to the point where all of Israel was dead. We all lacked the understanding. We all lacked the breath. But it would be brought back. And their dead bodies, spiritually dead, shall lie in the street of the great city. What is that great city? America. Let's get Revelation chapter 17, verse 18. And it reads, and the woman, America, the great whore, which thou sawest, is that great city which reigneth over the kingdoms of the earth. Right? And if you're being serious with yourself, you ask yourself, what city is that? Right? And, you know, the proper answer would be America, if you're being sincere. America holds that number one place within the earth. And their dead bodies, spiritually dead, shall lie in the street of the great city, America. Right? Because it was here we were lost. And it was here that we were woken up. You know, with the truth was revealed unto us, that revelation came, right? That great awakening came, right? Which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Why is America spiritually called Sodom? Well, the ways of America, you know, the ways of the people. Again, the lack of morals. You know, you live how you want, do what you want, right? Do as thou wilt. That whole way of life. And Egypt, what was Egypt? A time of great captivity of Israel, you know, and from Egypt also came a great deliverance of Israel. And it's going to be the same with here in America, a time of great captivity of Israel, you know, both nations, and a time of great deliverance, where also our Lord was crucified. Right? Now the Lord, Yahweh Shai, was crucified where? In the Holy Land. He was crucified in Jerusalem. So why is it saying the Lord was crucified here? Then it can't be speaking about America. But it is, right? There's a saying in this world how when someone dies, they live on through what? Their legacy, right? The things that they did, their memories, what they stood for, whatever, right? So if you were to change their legacy, that would be likened unto killing them again, right? And that's exactly what they've done with Yahweh Shai. You know, first of all, they changed his name, called him so-called Jesus, right? You have, they changed the way he looked, you know. They told you that he was a so-called white man with long hair, you know, blue eyes, when he wasn't. They tried to change up his ministry, tried to change up his doctrine, tried to change up, you know, his word, his gospel. They tell you that anyone can be saved. You know, Yahweh Shai came to save the whole world, meaning everyone, you know, to came to give repentance for sins for everyone. And that's not true. They tried to do away with what Yahweh Shai was. That's likened unto crucifying him again. Verse 9, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half. Now this is speaking about the other nations as well as Esau. They're going to see the dead bodies, the sleep Israelites, for lack of better words, 3 days and a half. And this 3 days and a half is prophetic or symbolic for 350 years. And what this is going into is Salakia. What this is going into is the time from when the southern kingdom started coming over here in slave ships to the time we basically started to wake up, which is from 1619, right, plus 350 years, 1969, or 1620 to 1970. We'll say 1619 to 1969, and that's what that up 3 days and a half is speaking of, right? And it's also mentioned throughout the scriptures. You'll see 42 months, right? 3 days and a half, or 3.5 days. You will see 1,260 days, right? It's all prophetic or symbolic for that 350 year time span. Or I believe up here, right, verse 2, but the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city they tread underfoot 40 and 2 months. Right, it's the holy city going to Israel, a people before it's a place. They tread underfoot 40 and 2 months. So again, at 40 and 2 months, the 3.5 years or 3.5 days, the 1,260 days is all prophetic for 350 years, right? Now, I want to ask chat, how should I word this? Let's see, 60. Yes, 1,260 days and 42 months are considered the same time period in biblical prophecy. All mean the same duration, 3.5 years, 42 months, 1,260 days, right? And we're just going to grab basically the scriptures that bring it up. Let's continue reading first. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves, which is to what? They didn't, give us that relief by basically bringing understanding to us, tell us who we were, so on and so forth. But, there's a reason for that, because this is what these nations wanted, right? Mainly speaking about the elites of these nations, because the regular Edomite or Moabite didn't, do this, but mainly the elites, who knew who we were and didn't suffer our dead bodies to be put into graves, didn't suffer us, our spirits, didn't suffer our minds to be relieved by letting us know who we were. Because as we read in Psalms 83, it was their plan to make, roughly paraphrasing, to make the name of Israel no more in remembrance amongst Israel, and they achieved that. But really, it was the plan of the Heavenly Father, which is why that was achieved. But it was brought back, after that 350 days. In 1969, the Lord put the Spirit on the Elder Abba Bivens to basically, push the truth harder. That's when the real awakening began. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, right? Other nations. What do we read in Baruch 4? Let's go back to that. Baruch 4 and 31. Miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoice at thy fall. Again, that's mainly speaking about Esau, but all these other nations as well, man, because they're all our enemies. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, right? In which, what were some of those gifts? Us, slaves. Because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. Now, dealing with the two prophets, literally, we don't know literally who these two prophets were, but it's likened unto the two nations, or the two nations of Israel. You have the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom, Judah, Ephraim, Judah, Israel, the two kingdoms, right? Because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. And how did, Israel basically torment those that dwelt on the earth? It wasn't us per se, but our God. Whenever people did something to us, our God will fuck them up. Case in point, when I believe we went into war with the Philistines and they stole our ark, what did the Lord do to their ass, right? These nations know that we have the one and only true God basically backing us. And the Lord would always, mess them up for our well-being. So that's how they tormented them that dwelt on the earth. So their plan was to make the name of Israel no more in remembrance, because in that way, we don't know who we are. We aren't calling on our God, right? Our God isn't drawn near to us. Therefore, he cannot hurt us anymore. Speaking as to other nations. Which is why, as we read in verse 11, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them, right? And after 3 days and a half, again at 350 years, the spirit of life, right? The Holy Spirit, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai entered into them, entered into Israel, mainly being the Lord's elect, and they stood upon their feet. Why? Because now these dead bodies were no longer dead. We were given the spirit, and now they're standing. You see brothers out there proclaiming the truth, living in the truth, walking after righteousness, walking in the ways of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, prophesying, in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And as we read here, and great fear fell upon them which saw them, mainly being those in power. Because what are brothers prophesying? The fall of this kingdom. The fall of their power, how they're going into slavery, how they're going to be brought down, how the Lord is going to bring that destruction on them. And what did we just read? Right? How these two prophets tormented them, right? Really, their God tormented them. So now that they're back, right? Now that they're back alive, they know that the Lord is drawn closer to his people. And they also know that they fucked up touching the Lord's people. So they're scared of the recompense from that. I was watching the live from the elder apostles, the Gabar and Aram Lob. They were going into 5 scriptures that basically prove reincarnation, or you can't deny reincarnation in the scriptures. And it was saying how these devils like to deny reincarnation because it means that they will have to pay for the sins of their fathers back then, because they are their fathers, that were back then today. And yeah, that's true. They fear having to pay that recompense. They fear having to, experience that judgment for what they did. But it's coming, and it's coming soon. Now, this is Revelation 11 and 11, right? Let's get to Revelation chapter 12, verse 6. It's Revelation chapter 12, verse 6. Basically hitting at the 1,260 days, the 42 months, the 3.5 years, 3.5 days. It's all being prophetic for 350 years. You straight to the point. It's Revelation 12 and 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness. That woman being Israel, fleeing into the wilderness being Africa, where she had a place prepared of the Most High. That place prepared of the Most High being America, right? It was from Africa that we had, Israel being rounded up and sold off to the Americas, that they should feed her there 1,203 days. Again, at 1260 days, being 3.5 years, prophetic for 350 years, or 3.5 days, prophetic for 350 years, right? It's also, just jump down. It's Revelation 12 and 14. And to the woman we're given 2 wings of a great eagle, which represents a great deliverance, that she might fly into the wilderness, Africa, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Right? So again, it was from Africa. You had us rounded up and sold off to over here in America. Nourished for a time, 1 times, that's plural, 2. So you have 3, and they have 3.5. Again, spiritual for and prophetic for 350 years. And we read about here where it says, given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, that being that great deliverance from the persecution, dealing with the time of 70 AD or circa 70 AD, when you had the Romans basically come up against Jerusalem, come up against the Jews, and and we fled our land. But before that happened, when Yahushua was on the scene, he warned them, when he spoke about, when you shall see, roughly paraphrasing, when you shall see the abomination, of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, he was speaking about the Romans coming up into the temple, coming up into our land, and coming up against us. He warned them that it would come, and those who took heed and left before that time came, they were delivered from that, insurrection. We read about that in Luke 21, those chapters, Luke 21, Mark 13, Matthew 24. But there's also, you get here in Daniel 7 and 25, we start at verse 23, and it reads, thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms. Again, going into the Roman Empire, diverse from all kingdoms, right? Because they didn't have a monarchy, they had a senate house. Basically, the person at the top would be the Caesar, which is likened unto a president today, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it into pieces, going into their military might, right? The strength of the Roman Empire. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. And these 10 horns back then were, as it reads, the 10 kingdoms of Esau, in which today these 10 horns make up the EU. But their names back then, their names today of those 10 kingdoms, you had Belgium, Italy, Ireland, France, Greece, England, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Denmark. I'm forgetting one. Did I say Greece? West Germany. That's 10, right? But today, those 10 have evolved into the EU. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And one that arose after them is going into America, in which he subdued 3 kings. You had the French and American War, the Spanish American War, and American War and Independence. No, the French and Indian War, Slovakia. But those 3 kings were the British, the Spanish, and the French. Verse 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, right? The blasphemies, and it shall wear out the saints of the Most High, right? The constant pressing of Israel by America, and think to change times and laws, going into how they basically just corrupt everything. And they shall be given into his hand until a time, 1 times, it's plural, 2, and the dividing of time, a half. 1 plus 2, 3.5. That 3.5, 3.5. Again, prophetic for 350 years. From the time of when we started coming over here, basically, until the time we woke up, from 1619 to 1969. Now, let's go back. This is verse 11. In the 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Right, which goes along with Revelation 18 and 4. This is the elect of the nation of Israel. You know, those who were no longer, a part of those dead bodies. They were raised up, given the spirit of understanding, the spirit of truth, the Holy Spirit, and sealed by the Most High. The remnant of Israel being beamed up out of the destruction that's going to come, upon America, into the chariots of Yahushua. And again, we read that it speaks about that in Isaiah 26 and 20, Jeremiah 51 and 45. You have, again, in Revelation 18 and 4. Let's get 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17. We're going to get straight to the point. It's 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17. Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Right? And what this is going into is how those who are dead in this truth, right, died, serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai, or the elect that are dead, they're going to be raised up, and they're going to be in the chariots. And those who didn't die, who made it through all the destruction or whatever, the persecution, the elect who didn't taste death, they're going to be beamed up before that final destruction of America comes, and they're going to meet with those who were raised from the dead in the chariots of Yahushua, or in the chariot of Yahushua. But again, going into how, the Lord's elect are going to be beamed up. Let's also get this is Acts chapter 1. Start at verse 9. It's Acts chapter 1, verse 9. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. Speaking about Yahushua being beamed up into a chariot. And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, the angels, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Yahushua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. Right? And he's going to do that when he returns to deliver his elect, the same way how he was, beamed up. Let's continue. Let's get Isaiah 31. It's Isaiah chapter 31, verse 5. And it reads, As birds flying, so with the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai of hosts, defend Jerusalem. Again, a people before it's a place. And as birds flying, you can imagine a flock of birds. That's how the angels in Yahushua are going to be with their chariots, the so-called UFOs. Defending also, he will deliver it. And passing over, he will preserve it. Right? So again, that's going into the Lord delivering the elect of the nation of Israel in the chariots. See Revelation chapter 1, verse 7. And it reads, Behold, he cometh with clouds, chariots, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so. Amen. So again, hitting at how Yahweh Shai is going to return with these chariots and the angels, right? And everyone is going to see this. That's why, as we read in Revelation 11 and 12, their enemies beheld them, because they're also going to watch the Lord's elect being beamed up before the destruction hits, and they're going to know that they fucked up, and that, there is no deliverance for them, because scriptures say that the elect were scarcely saved, so you can imagine, as these missiles dropping, that's when the Lord's elect are going to be beamed up, while people are watching and knowing that they're not being beamed up and are going to, take part in this nuclear destruction. So let's go back. And they heard a great voice from heaven, saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them, right? Let's get the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5. Basically speaking on that same account. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as afflicted him, their enemies, and made no account of his labors, their enemies, right? You have, mockers and scoffers, and even those who didn't mock, but they didn't take heed to the words that they were saying as well. So they made no account of his labors. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation. Why? Because it's going to be something like no one has ever seen before. Well, none of us has ever seen before, right? All these UFOs in the sky, this huge chariot beaming up the Lord's elect. It's going to be a sight to behold. So far beyond all that they looked for. Exactly. And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, right? Repenting and growing, right? Because they're going to realize they fucked up. This was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and of a proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life for madness, and his end to be without honor. They thought, brothers, those who've been serving the Lord, was just doing it all in vain. They thought we was crazy. How was he numbered among the children of God, and his lot among the saints, man, the elect of the nation of Israel? So those are the thoughts that are going to be, flowing through people's minds upon seeing the Lord's elect being delivered. That's why it says, and their enemies beheld them. So ultimately, if you aren't of the elect of the nation of Israel, you're an enemy. And the same hour was there a great earthquake. Again, that earthquake by way of the missiles, the destruction, and the 10th part of the city fell, representing America. And in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, right? 7 being the number of completion. You're gonna have a complete, number of people killed. And the remnant were affrighted. The remnant going into the elect of the nation of Israel and gave glory to the God of heaven, right? Because the remnant were affrighted because we, Lord willing, we be of that number, but they're seeing the destruction take place. They're seeing all of this go on as well. This is, they were here just like their enemies were here. They never, literally witnessed these things. So it's going to be, a little frightening to behold, but also joyous as well. Knowing you're being delivered out of that, knowing that everything you've been working towards was, worth it. That you were found worthy in the eyes of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, that you completed your mission. Now let's get the book of, we'll finish it off. And the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. They gave glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And let's get the book of Revelation chapter 5. The book with 7 seals, Revelation chapter 5 verse 1. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne Slakia, Revelation chapter 15. A scene of heaven. This is Revelation chapter 15, verse 1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of the Most High. Again, that going into that destruction, which is going to be by way of mainly these missiles. And I saw as it were a sea, and the lasers from the chariots, and I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, the elect of the nation of Israel, and over his image and over his mark. Again, letting you know these things come before the destruction. And over the number of his name stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of the Most High. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of the Most High, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord power almighty, just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Right, and what he is seeing is the Lord's elect being in the chariots, witnessing the destruction, and giving glory to the Lord. Let's go back. So that was verse 13. We read it in once more. In the same hour was there a great earthquake from the destruction, from the missiles, and a 10th part of the city fell, America, and in the earthquake were slain many 7,000, a complete number of deaths, and the remnant were affrighted. The remnant, the elect of Israel, gave glory to the Most High of heaven. All right, so now we can go back to Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Again, the Lord's elect being beamed up into the chariots before the destruction takes place. Verse 5, For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. It's dealing with America again. And the Most High hath remembered her iniquities, and it's not that the Lord forgot, but now it's time for, them to pay for those iniquities. Let's get the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 2nd Ezra 11, verse 43. Right, in this chapter is dealing with the literal Roman Empire, but I'm using these verses to apply it here. 2nd Ezra chapter 11, verse 43, and it reads, Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. The highest also has looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. Right, so the time that you had to do your wickedness is over. And it's the same thing with America here. And I heard, verse 5, For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. Right, because now it's time to pay. Your abominations have ended. There's no more, I gave you this time period, and now it's up. Let's jump back 2 chapters. This is Revelation chapter 16, verse 19. Let's start at verse 17. And the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, It is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. Again, why? Because of the destruction from the missiles. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon, America, came in remembrance before the Most High, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. So again, the Lord has remembered her iniquities. Now it's time to pay. Now it's time for the Lord to bring the recompense, to bring the judgment. Verse 6, Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, and the cup which she hath filled, fail to her double, right? So the Lord saying, not only am I going to, recompense y'all for what y'all have done, but we gonna double that. We gonna 2x it, man. Because the Lord, again, this day is for the Lord to really show his power, man. So he's gonna go all out. Let's get the book of Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 29. And it reads, call together the archers against Babylon, against all the nations who have these nuclear capabilities, their missiles. All ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work. Right? We just read in Revelation 18. Recompense her double, according to all that she hath done. Do unto her, for she hath been proud against the Lord Yahweh, against the Holy One of Israel. And now it is going to be time to pay for that pride. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 16. This is Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 15, right? Because the Lord rewarding Esau for the things that they've done does not just stop at the destruction of America. Just does not just stop at the destruction and fall of their kingdom, because in our kingdom, they're also going to be made slaves. Just Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 15, along with the other nations. But the difference between Esau and the other nations is, after a certain period of time, 1,000 years to be exact, the other nations, they're going to be able to go off, to their lands, and govern their own lands and so on and so forth. They're still going to be tributary unto us and serve under us, but they'll be able to do that. Whereas Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, the so-called white race, the Lord is, wiping them off the planet, the face of the earth, because there won't be any more need for them. They were built and made to be wickedness, to spread corruption, but there's not going to be a need for that in a perfect kingdom. The lesson is learned. And if anyone forgets it, they can just go look at that big ass smoke pillar that used to be America. And remember what happens when you disobey and go against the Heavenly Father. This is Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 15. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable for the multitude of thy iniquity, because thy sins were increased. I have done these things unto thee. Right? So speaking about Israel, because of our disobedience, that's why the Lord brought, the things that he brought upon us. And most of the time it was what? Sending us into captivity under another nation, having these other nations come up against us. But them doing that and boasting in that, not knowing that they're just condemning themselves as well, because they've touched the Lord at the apple's eye. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, ultimately all the other nations, mainly being Esau, the number one adversary, every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. All that prey upon us, man. So all these other nations, we are going to put them in slavery. They're going to become our subjects, especially you, Esau. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 18. And it reads, we just get straight to the point. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 18. Let them be confounded that persecute me, but let not me be confounded. Let them be dismayed, but let not me be dismayed. Bring upon them the day of evil and destroy them with double destruction. Right? Now applying it to Esau, right? What did we just read? In Revelation 18, the Lord is going to reward them double according to their works. See it, Psalms chapter 149, verse 6. We start at verse 4. Psalms 149 verse 4, for the Lord Yahweh taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek with salvation. Right? And the meek being the elect of the nation of Israel. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Right? What did we just read? How they're going to be giving glory to the Most High in the chariot. Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hands, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. Right? And that's what we're waiting on. To do, to these heathens that they did unto us, to put them in slavery. But we're going to do it in righteousness, right? We're not going to do no overboard shit like rape their men and eat their babies and eat them, so on and so forth. It's going to be lawfully, right? Now let's get the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 10. And it reads, all right, Salakia, for the interruption, but picking up where I left off, basically going into how, in the kingdom, we will have these other nations, we will have Esau as our, servants, as our slaves, right? The reward, the recompense, or the judgment for the things that they've done does not stop at the fall of their kingdom. This is Isaiah chapter 60 verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. All right, so in the wrath of the Lord that was kindled upon Israel for their disobedience, the Lord smote us. He brought destruction upon us, judgment upon us, but in his favor he's going to have mercy upon us and restore us. Restore us to our positions as kings, priests, and so on and so forth. Our position as rulers of this earth. Now, continuing, therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yeah, those nations shall be utterly wasted. Right? So, all the nations are going to serve us in the kingdom, man. Continuing on even further, let's get the book of Isaiah chapter 14. It's Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1. For the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai will have mercy on Jacob, Israel, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Now these strangers cleaving to the house of Jacob, or joining us in our land, or Israelites or Israelite foreigners, those around the world. Scriptures speak about how in the kingdom you're going to have these Israelites in these other nations being brought by the people of the other nations unto the land, unto the Lord. I believe in 2nd Ezra 13, it talks about how, how Ezra seen people being brought as if they were being brought as an offering. And we can get that, but continuing on verse 2, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place. Again, the Israelites was in these other nations, the other nations bringing the Israelites to their land, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord. See, now this is where it switches. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids, speaking about the other nations. There's not going to be any Israelite being a servant unless it's a servant to Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. But as servants, as in, slaves and handmaids, no, it's not going to be none of that. We're all going to be in that high position. Some may be higher than others, right? You're going to have the 144,000, being higher than those who are just of the elect. But ultimately, all of the elect are going to be higher than those who weren't of the elect, even though they're all going to be Israelites and considered, the highest in the kingdom. They're still going to be levels, right? There's going to be levels to it. But continuing, and they shall take them captives, letting you know whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So again, the other nations. Now continuing, let's get the book of what did I want to get? It's Isaiah 66. Then I pass it. Was it 65? Speaking about when where it says that the other nations are basically going to bring our sons and daughters from afar, right? Pretty sure it's Isaiah 66. I must have passed over it. It's Isaiah chapter 66, verse 20. We can start at verse 19. And I will set a sign among them, and I will send those that escape of them unto the nations, to Tarshish, Pul, and Lud, that draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, to the isles of far off, that have not heard my fame, neither have seen my glory, and they shall declare my glory among the Gentiles, and they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, out of all nations, upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith the Lord Yahweh, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of the Lord Yahweh. So you're going to have Israelites scattered, being brought to the land by the heathens. Now, let's also get Isaiah 61, verse 5. It's Isaiah chapter 61, verse 5. We start at verse 1. Exaltation of the afflicted. The Spirit of the Lord Yahweh is upon me, because the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, right? Speaking about Israel, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn, right? And those that mourn being the elect of the nation of Israel, but really Israel. To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord Yahweh, that he might be glorified. And they shall build the old wastes, they shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations, right? And those who are going to do that are these other nations. The Israelites aren't going to be the ones getting down and dirty, rebuilding Jerusalem after it's destroyed. No. That's what we have slaves for. That's what we have servants for. That's what these other nations are going to be there for, to serve us. Verse 5, and strangers, other nations, heathens, shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien, heathens, other nations, shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. But ye shall be named the priests of the Lord Yahweh. Men shall call you the ministers of our God. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. Right? So we are going to be the ones at the top. Well, all the other nations serve us, man. Now let's get the book of Ezekiel. Damn. This is Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 12. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance, and hath greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, I will also stretch out mine hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of the Don shall fall by the sword. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord Yahweh. And again, part of that vengeance is us, slapping their kings and princes with fetters of iron, putting them in slavery as they did to us. Let's get the book of Isaiah chapter 47. We can start from the top, and it reads, Lament for Babylon. Again, Babylon being America. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Right? Esau is going to be brought out of power. America is going to be brought out of power. The kingdom is going to be thrown down. Take the millstones and grind meal. Uncover thy locks. Make bare the leg. Uncover the thigh. Pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance and will not meet thee as a man. Right? So the Lord is not going to meet them as a man, going into the greatness of the judgment he's going to bring. Right? The greatness of the destruction. Right? That's why in 2 Thessalonians, let's grab that. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8. Right? And then shall the wicked be revealed, Esau, Edom, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, his prophecies, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Right? The brightness of the Lord's coming, man, because again, this is the day for the Lord to wall out, man. So he's not meeting them as a man. He's going to meet them, as a God through his son. When Yahweh Shai returns, is going to show the power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the power of a real God. The power that Esau, is trying to achieve, and is going to show them how they will never be able to achieve such power. Because here it is, Esau is going to be at the height of their power, yet the Lord is, going to destroy them with such ease. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance and will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, right, who? Israel, the Lord of hosts, the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel, of Israel only, right? Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people, I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst shew them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou verily heavily laid thy yoke. Right? So yeah, the Lord made Esau or put us in this predicament that we're in for our disobedience. But, these devils went overboard. Let's get this in the NLT. For I was angry with my chosen people and punished them by letting them fall into your hands. But you, Babylon, America, showed them no mercy. You oppressed even the elderly. And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. So that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Right? So, it's not like our kingdom is ever going to fall. Nothing's ever going to happen to us. Right? So it doesn't even matter what I did to them. It's not like it's going to come back and, haunt me or anything. Not like I'm going to get repaid for it. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me, I shall not sit as a widow. Again, this is going into the pride of Esau, the pride of America. They think that the shit that they've done, nothing's going to happen to them for it. They can continue on doing their wickedness. They're going to establish themselves as that dominant power, establish their beast system, and live on, dwelling in their heaven, their utopia. But it's not going to go down like that. Verse 9. So like in verse 8, once more. Therefore hear now this, thou art given to pleasures, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me, I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, right? They're coming upon them in their perfection, because the Lord is going to perfectly bring these people down. And only the Lord can do that. He's going to utterly destroy them, and take them out of power, remove all their glory. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Right? And what is that desolation? Again, those missiles being that main, judgment or final judgment and destruction of their kingdom. Now, this, what Isaiah is saying here in chapter 47, is basically, reiterated here in Revelation 18. Continue on where we left off, right? Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Right? She say that she isn't going to be a widow, right? She's not going to see a loss of children. Again, going into that pride. They think that nothing is coming. They're not going to have to pay for the things that they've done, but they are. And, very heavily at that. Verse 8, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine. Right? As we read in Isaiah 47, it's going to come upon her suddenly. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai, power who judgeth her. So again, going into that thermonuclear destruction, and that divine fire destruction. Verse 8, lament for Babylon and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her. Right? Going into those who, these other nations who got rich off America, make treaties, agreements, so on and so forth with America. and live deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her. And when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing far off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, America, that mighty city, for at 1 hour is thy judgment come. Right? And it's just like what we read in Jeremiah 51 and 8 and 9. You know, they're crying for America. Why? Because it's being destroyed, but this was their source of income, for lack of better words, right? They were made rich off America, slept with this great whore. You know, they gained riches and power, you know, through allying up with America, through their treaties and agreements that they had with America. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Right? Because in 1 hour, the Lord is going to completely take down their kingdom, completely take down Esau's empire, you know, their infrastructure, their kingdom, their system in 1 hour. Right? Which goes, and you see how, well, it's just like the third time it mentioned in 1 hour, but you see how it's putting that emphasis on that, right? And this is why the Savior, right, Yahweh Shai, said what he said. Let's get to Luke chapter 10, verse 18. We'll start at verse 17. This is Luke chapter 10, verse 17. And the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Right? Going into the speed and strength at which these devils fell out of power, at which their kingdom was brought down by the Lord. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for at 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. See, and America was a heavy consumer. You know, it bought many things, had many things imported from these other lands to them. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all Theine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour, and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. And the fruit that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. Why? Because the Lord is going to strip away the glory of America, man, the glory of Esau. You know, all the things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. For in 1 hour, so like in verse 16, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. So again, you see this emphasis for in 1 hour, in 1 hour, in 1 hour, which goes to show you how the Lord, he cannot wait to destroy this place. It's like imagine you're someone's talking crazy, and you can beat them, but you gotta wait. And you're just sitting there like, oh, bro, just give me an hour, bro. Just give me an hour. I know I got you. All I need is an hour. All I need is an hour. That's how the Lord is, man. In 1 hour, in 1 hour, in 1 hour. That's all it's going to take for the Lord to utterly destroy them. Let's get the book of, let's get 2nd Ezra. Already here. The 2nd Ezra chapter 4, verse 34. Let's start at verse 33. Then I answered and said, how and when shall these things come to pass? Wherefore are our years few and evil? And he answered me, saying, do not thou hasten above the Most Highest, for thy haste is in vain to be above him, for thou hast much exceeded. Why? Because number one, don't nobody wants the destruction of Esau, and the judgment of Esau to take place more than the Most High. And number two, right, it's in vain because it's only going to happen when the Lord ordained it to happen. So, hasten above the Lord, it's in vain. It does nothing. Let's get the book of Hebrews chapter 10 verse 37, and it reads, start at verse 36, for ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of the Most High, ye might receive the promise. Right? And that's what a lot of people end up lack, which is why they end up falling out of the truth, because they lack the patience, the patience to wait on the things to come. That's why scriptures say, he that endureth until the end. You need patience in order to endure. For yet a little while, and he that shall come will come, and will not tarry. Because when that time is time, the Lord is hopping right on it. It's not going to happen before it's ordained, and it's not going to happen later than it was to be ordained. But right then and there, man. Let's continue on to the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. And it reads, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, right? Patience, because it will surely come and will not tarry. So all we need to do is just keep working, man, until it comes, because we know once it comes, it's there. When it's time for their kingdom to, come down, the Lord is there to bring it down, man. Let's get the book of Isaiah, chapter 63, verse 4. And it reads, for the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeem is come. So the day of vengeance is in the heart of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And we look into this word heart. It's lab, a form of labab, inner man, mind, will, heart, understanding. Conscience, heart, a seat of appetites, mind, knowledge, thinking, reflection, memory. So the Lord is dwelling on this day, man. It's in his mind. It's on his spirit. He is waiting on this day. The day to completely bring down his enemies and to deliver his people, to build his people, to welcome them back, as the sons and daughters of the true living God in perfection, in his kingdom. In the perfect kingdom. And that's also why scriptures say what? That vengeance belongs to the Lord, man. Which also goes to show you how much the Lord, can't wait to destroy them. It's like when, let's say there's a snack or something, or a bag of chips, and everyone wants some, right? Or a certain group of people want some, But you have one that wants it so bad, it's like, nah, bro, this all mine. I'm not sharing. That's how the Lord is. That's why vengeance is for the Lord. He's not sharing it with nobody. It's for him to do. He is the one who gets to judge these devils for all that they've done. Now, just going back, it's Revelation 18, and what was that, verse 19? Right, and they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. Right, so rejoice over her. And that's what we are waiting on, the destruction of America. That's why when we see, the way the economy is going, how ICE is doing what they're doing, just the complete decay of the American way, the American society of America itself, it's pleasing unto us, man, because we know what's coming. When we see them pushing this technology, right, this MOTB infrastructure, it excites us because we see what's coming. It's all leading to the downfall of their kingdom and the upbringing of ours. Let's get this is Zechariah chapter 9 verse 4. Is it Zechariah or is it Zephaniah? Okay, it's none of these. What was it? Wait. It's not here. Come not. Mark. Ezekiel. It's Ezekiel chapter 9. Verse 4. This is Ezekiel chapter 9 verse 4. And the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, again a people before us a place, and set a mark upon the heads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Right, and that mark being this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of this truth, given to the elect of the nation of Israel. Those are going to be the ones who sigh and that cry for all the abominations, for all the wickedness upon the earth. The wickedness of Esau, the things that they've done to our people, the things that they continue to do, the wickedness within America, man. And that's why we cannot wait to see this place go down. Let's continue on. Let's get the book of Revelation 14 and 12, where it goes basically into that destruction, right, of those who receive the mark, the MOTB, who worship the beast and his system. Continue what I was saying, right? Revelation 14 and 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yahweh Shai. Again, going into the elect of the nation of Israel. The faith and the patience is Slakia, for our enemies to be destroyed, for their kingdom to come down, and the kingdom of heaven to be established, for us to be reunited with our God, to be reunited with our big brother, Yahweh Shai, our Savior, and to dwell in righteousness, man. That's the faith and the patience of those who serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai in truth and sincerity. Which is why we cannot wait for this kingdom to go down. Again, that's why, when we see that America is circling the drain, it brings joy to us, right? Let's get the book of 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 12, and it reads, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High. Right, so we are looking forward to that day, because that day means the destruction of our enemies and the establishment of a righteous world, man, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Again, that destruction by way of thermonuclear fire and divine fire from the chariots of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a millstone, like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon, America, be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Right? So the Lord is going to throw America down, bring this place down, bring Esau's rulership down, bring them out of power with great violence. Which is why scriptures speak about the day of the Lord, being one of great violence, great destruction. Let's get the book of Amos chapter 5, verse 20. We can start at verse 18. This is Amos chapter 5, verse 18. And it reads, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord Yahweh. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai is darkness and not light. Right? And those who desire the day of the Lord without the true knowledge and understanding, they don't know that it is going to be one of darkness, especially for them. But those in the know who were given the light, right, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, the breath of life by the Lord, we know that the day of the Lord, if we've been serving the Lord, then we'll be good, and after the Lord returns and brings down our enemies, then the kingdom of heaven is going to be established, right? And all the promises that come with that, man. The day of the Lord is darkness and not light, as if a man did flee from a lion, and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall, and a serpent bit him, right? And we're also expecting the Lord to protect, preserve, and provide for us in these times of trouble. Shall not the day of the Lord Yahweh be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? Right? And when we look into this word darkness, it's chashak, darkness, obscurity, darkness, secret place, darkness, dark, obscurity, night. The darkness, hence literal darkness, figuratively, misery, destruction, death, ignorance, sorrow, wickedness. And that's exactly what the Lord is bringing, man. Death, the destruction upon our enemies, upon the wicked of this world. So we're reading once more, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Right? And also upon the bringing down of America and the bringing down of Esau, in those high places, the Lord is coming to do away with the pride that dwells upon this earth, in this day. That's why scriptures say that, the Lord alone will be exalted in this day. All right. Let's get that in the book of Isaiah chapter 2. And it reads, a day of reckoning, meaning the subtitle. We're going to jump down to the 17th verse. And the loftiness of man shall be bowed down, and the haughtiness of men shall be made low. Going into that pride, man, the Lord's coming to do away with it. And the Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai alone, shall be exalted in that day. Right? Because with the Lord, coming and showing his power, bringing down those in high positions, so on and so forth, he's also going to, show people who the one and only true living God is, right? There's not going to be no more idols, being called on in that day. None of that, right? This is why verse 18, and the idols he shall utterly abolish, right? Because upon people seeing their power, you're going to have people trying to call on their false gods in this time and realize that it's not working. Then they see Yahweh Shai, these angels in the sky, and they're going to know this is the God of the Bible, right? This is the God of Israel. You know, in that great day, everyone will acknowledge the power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. You're going to have to. You know, that's why scripture said that every eye shall see him. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. So let's finish off here. It's book of Habakkuk chapter 2, I believe it's verse 16. Yes, verse 16, and it reads, thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. Right? Because the Lord is going to wipe away all the glory of America, man. All the glory of Esau, Edom. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I have. At least, all that's on my mind. For Revelation chapter 18, you know, Lord willing, this video was edifying, informative, or uplifting in some way, shape, or form. And once more, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. You know, last thing I want to say is keep pushing, man. We almost out of here. Shalom.